Where's Belmonte there?
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Belmonte.
And I'm Mike Val.
And this is the Bohn N Zano Zone, where we are always on the lanes, off the charts, and on the mic.
Destiny was on his side.
Strike to claim it. A strike to claim it.
And he got it. Who do you think you are?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very exciting episode of the Bohn N Zano Zone podcast presented by BuddiesProShop.com. Mike, we have a super exciting episode tonight.
Justin, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a long day getting prepared for this one, but it's definitely going to be a big one. We do want to remind everybody we are giving away a Storm High Road. So that is right. Share this post, share the stream, comment with tag 2 friends, and you'll be entered in a drawing to win a Storm High Road courtesy of BuddiesProShop.com.
Yep, and just to make this really quick, we're just going to touch on this really quick. Our guest on Tuesday will be Wes Malott.
Yep.
And also, really quick, we have our celebrity contestants for our game show ready, and I think it's time we can reveal who they're going to be.
Let's go right ahead.
We will have on the celebrity side of the bracket Chuck Gardner, and he will be facing off against one of the, I don't know how you describe this guy. He's a human firework, I guess, Justin, right?
Yeah.
The one and only Tim Mack. So it will be Timmy Mack and Chuck Gardner going head-to-head in a little trivia competition. But that's neither here nor there. Justin, shall we get in with the introduction? I don't think anyone wants to hear us talk right now.
I think we should get right into it.
All right, I got the intro ready. May I have the floor?
Go right ahead.
So I don't know really where to start with this one, pal. If I did my normal introduction, this would probably take an hour just because of the resume that this guy has. So I'm going to wing it here and see what I can do. We have a 24-time titleist on the PBA Tour. He is the all-time record holder for most wins in a major with 13. Yes, I said 13. I did not stutter. He actually holds more majors than regular tour titles, if you believe that. He has won tournaments in 5 different continents throughout his career. He has forever changed the way this game is being played and will be played in the future. A video game designer. He's also into sneakers, and he's even designed some bowling balls as well in his career. The only thing I was told about this interview, Justin, was that I could not give him a better intro that I gave to DeAndre a couple weeks ago. It is our pleasure to welcome future Hall of Famer, ambassador of the sport, and without a doubt, the greatest bowler in the world, Jason Belmonte, to the show. Hello,
hey,
mate. How are you?
Fellas, what's going on?
Good morning.
Doing good, doing real good. Just actually here in my home. It looks probably a little messier. Well, you can't really see. I've got the door closed for a good reason. We're moving home, so there's boxes and there's stuff laying everywhere, and it's been a bit chaotic. But I'm glad to have pressed the pause button on the removalist job that I'm doing and be able to sit down and have a chat with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We actually, the Bohn family just went through it on our end. We just got into a new house. At the beginning of this, we had no idea how long Dad would be home, and it was continuing to add on the amount of time, and we took advantage of it. And, well, now we're in a new home, and boxes are everywhere for sure, but unpacking is definitely going on.
Yeah, listen, massive tip my hat to all the removalists out there in the world. It is a job that only the bravest men dare take on. It is a nightmare. So, but it's fun. I mean, the excitement of going somewhere new is always fun. So that's going good. But other than that, Yeah, not too much. Just relaxing here at home and been able to spend some more time with the kids and, working on a whole lot more stuff behind the lanes and off the lanes. And it's been really good. Actually, I wanted to take a moment, if you don't mind,
Go right ahead.
to give a bit of a shout out. So a little birdie flew onto my shoulder, whispered into my ear that I have a fan out there who is going through a little bit of a rough time. So I wanted to kind of just take this moment to say, Darren Swaverley, if you're listening right now, mate, I know you're not feeling the best, but hang in there. I promise you that the more you fight and the tougher you are, the more likely you beat cancer. So dig your heels in, mate. I hope that the chemo works. I hope that your family and friends basically wait on you for your every becking call. Okay, you shouldn't be lifting a finger to do anything. Like if you needed to change the remote channel, okay, like someone should press the button for you. Like that's how much they should be looking after you right now. So shout out to my mate Darren. And I just wanted to say I hope that he's all right.
Yeah, thank you for that. We actually have Darren's sister-in-law, Mary Kate, in the studio with us. And, let's bring her right in. You there, Mary Kate?
Oh, look like we're having a little tech problem there.
Mary Kate's left the chat.
She was here, and she did want to say thank you for sure.
No worries. Well, Mary Kate was actually a little birdie on my shoulder. So there you go.
Oh, she's back. Mary Kate, can you hear us?
I don't know, Justin.
I'm sure she's saying good things for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's just pretend.
Yeah.
We haven't had the best luck with internet connections this week, to put it politely.
Yeah, we had Randy on Tuesday, and he lost internet about halfway through the show, and didn't come back on, and it was rough. But on behalf of the whole Swavely family, I'm going to say thank you for them. They're such a loving family, and it's always great to see them around. Jane Marie always taking pictures at our local youth tournaments. Huge shout out to her.
She's a great person. The couple of events that I've been with you up in Pennsylvania, camera's always around, and she actually makes me look pretty good. So she's very good at her craft, but she's a wonderful woman. So best of everything to her and the family.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So without any further ado, I think we should go ahead and get right into this. So Jace, you started bowling when you were 1.5. Your parents owned a bowling center in Australia. You obviously got into it in an early age. So basically, tell us about your family. What kind of bowlers were they? And how did your parents influence you into start getting into bowling?
Well, neither of my parents were bowlers. In fact, they had never rolled a ball down a lane themselves ever until they had the bright idea of opening a bowling center here in my hometown. So they built the bowling center a couple of weeks after I was born, and then they were, flat chat, super busy. And when I was old enough to be able to, bowl by myself, the ball was just too heavy. So I just picked it off the rack using two hands because that's how I could do it. And I would stay out of mum and dad's way while they worked, and I would bowl all day long, take a break for lunch or a break for a nap, and then straight back at it as soon as that was done. And I did that, I still do that. I mean, I usually have a break for lunch, take a little nap, and then go back and then go back out there. So it's one of those very interesting stories because as I was growing up, being the fact that my parents never bowled, they weren't coaches, they didn't know anything about bowling, they never sought to coach me out of the way that I was playing. I think as far as they were concerned, as long as I was out of their way and just happy, they were quite content to just let me be. So I just stuck with it. I noticed that I was able to do something that no one else in my hometown could do, and that was stand at the left gutter, throw it at the right gutter, and have it come back. Everyone in town was a very much a down and in straight player, and here I was curving the whole lane. So to me, that was that was a really cool thing that I could do that no one else could do. So I never stopped. I just loved it too much. It wasn't easy. I mean, I had a lot of people. You could imagine, as you live in a relatively small town, you're constantly getting advice from people who, they want to help, but at the same time, I just was that stubborn kid that was like, why should I listen to you? Because if I look at the scores, I'm actually beating all of you guys. It doesn't make any sense why I should listen to you.
So we're basically the same age. So when I started bowling to 3. And we had no bumpers or anything here. Did they have that down in Australia, or were you?
Oh no. I can't remember when we first got bumpers. I mean, it was a long time. Like, I mean, I might have been in my early teens when we first got bumpers. The very first bumper we had, my dad actually hand built like this tubing system. He just kind of heard of the idea of bumpers. So we built this tubing system that just kind of connected each tube, and it was one of the worst jobs you could have if you were working that day. It was like, oh, hey, Jace, we need to put the bumpers on lane number 1 through 6. And you're like, oh, come on, man, it's going to take me 45 minutes just to do one lane. You want me to do 6? You're killing me. Because the tubing was so perfectly, like the sizing was like, it fit just right. So it took forever to just connect them, and then you have to go down the other end. That was heavy as, like, oh, that was so heavy. So when bumpers came out, I remember saying to Dad one day, oh, look, I grew up with no bumpers, and look at me, I can knock over the pins all right. Why do these kids need bumpers? I was trying to get out of putting the bumpers up. And then I think it was just a couple of years later, and we ended up installing some really easy swivel ones that you can just kind of walk up, you swivel them out, and that was a lot easier. But no, didn't grow up with any of that stuff. No bumpers, no light bowling balls.
No dinosaur ramps. See, Justin, we're cut from the same cloth, me and Belmo. We're cut from the same cloth here. We cut our teeth with this no bumper stuff.
Mike, you just started 18 months too late. Otherwise, you might have been where I am. Justin and I could have been introducing you to the Belmo and Bohn Zone show. Could have been very different.
All right. Well, you'll be saying, I want to hear you say that in about 45 minutes when we go one-on-one.
So from basically everything that we looked at, you've won tournaments from a very young age. And one of the connections that we have, I actually go bowl this tournament in Malaysia, the Junior All-Stars in Kuala Lumpur. And your name is on one of the plates that you actually won the boys open portion of that event. So basically, I mean, it's crazy how much you've been winning from the beginning. I mean,
yeah, I think I would actually disagree with that, Justin. Okay. I mean, I don't disagree with the fact that I won the Malaysian All-Stars. Actually, that event was the defining moment in my career so I was only, I think, 16 or 17 years old at the time, and it was the first time I'd ever left Australia to compete in an individual event. Okay. And during that tournament, I bowled a perfect game, and they were offering a $15,000 prize for 300. So I came home with just like, to a 16-year-old, like a legitimate, like Scrooge McDuck type amount of money, right? Like you're talking $15,000. I'm coming home. Get out of here. So when I came home, my parents said, listen, now you've got money. So do with it as you wish. If you want to pursue your career, you now have a bit of a bankroll to do more traveling and to experience more events around the world. And they told me to treat it wisely because, up until my later teens, I should say, Dad would always help me out with a flight, or he'd help me out with an entry, and I'd work 2 jobs and save up. But then basically he said, I really want you to take this seriously. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we're not going to be here just giving you money to travel around the world. So that was kind of the very first moment where I'm like, wow, I don't want to lose all this money. I better really work hard on my game. So when I do spend it and invest in myself overseas, then I can at least give myself the best chance for a return. And I'm very, very grateful that all of those things happened at that time. But I don't think I was that good a player. If I'm really honest, I don't think I was that good a player back then. I think when the lanes opened up and you could curve it, sure, I could strike with the best, but I was no good on the fresh. My sparing was pretty more missed than hit at that time. So I think I got pretty lucky. I actually believe I won that All-Stars because I'm trying to remember who I played. Oh, it was a long time ago. But he bucketed on the field shot. He doubled in the 10th and then bucketed to tie the match. And then we went into a one-ball roll-off. And I think he got 7 on the first shot, and then I got maybe 9, I think. So there was a lot of things that went right for me that day, and that was one of them.
Justin, that sounds like you when you had that guy throw a gutter when he needed 2 to beat you last year.
Yeah. I told this story, I think, last week. I was bowling a big event down in Maryland, Baltimore area, and the guy got up and needed a mark to beat me in the 10th. And we're bowling on something less than 2-1. They're close to impossible. He gets up, leaves a 3-pin, makes a spare, and needs 2 pins to beat me. And he's playing 15 with a ton of surface. And he gets a little right, and he throws it in the gutter, and he lost the match. And
sounds like a Del Ballard moment there. I think Del's the most famous gutter ball to lose a match. But look, sometimes it happens. You just if it's against you, it's like, thank you very much, but I kind of wished your dad threw a couple of gutter balls at me in the World Championship back then, but he decided to throw bloody 11 of the greatest shots he's ever thrown in his life at me.
And that was probably the last time. That was probably the last time he threw some good ones.
That's a bit rough. No, I wouldn't say that. But I tell you, that game he bowled, he got one. I think he rolled a 3-pin. He rolled a 3-pin late in the match, but I don't think it really would have changed the outcome. But man, he let go of that ball, and I like to watch my opponents at the release point. I just like to see if they get out of it good. And it lets me have like an expectation of like, yep, that was a good shot. All right, it's going to be your turn now. Like, I don't know. I just watch it, and I remember watching his, and I'm like, is that the next frame, or was that the frame before that's on a replay somewhere that I'm viewing? Because that was identical to the last like 7 shots that he's thrown. And then the one that he actually threw to the left, I'm like, all right, here we go. Nope, roll the 3-pin. All right, cool. Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for just stomping on my face. You didn't even need to strike then to win, but thanks.
We call that a Hall of Fame break there.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm sure if you ask him, which is probably true, he's had the opposite happen many a time. The ring 7, the stone 9 to lose matches. So it all evens out in the end, and that's how I look at it. I've had my fair share of good breaks too. So
I want to
get happening.
Oh no, it's part of the game, right?
Yeah, and I want to make something really clear. I'm moving house, right? So all of this stuff in here it's all old, and so if you hear my chair make some funny noises, I want you to know it's my chair, okay? And I'm just paranoid every time because I'm a mover. I constantly swing and I change positions a lot. My chair makes these noises, and I'm sure there are people in the comments going, dude, what's wrong with Belmo's belly? Like, it doesn't sound too healthy right now. So it's not me. All right.
All right. So we got the elephant out of the room, out of the way then.
Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad we sorted that out real quick.
So let's get into your post-junior stuff to your amateur days a little bit. All right.
Okay.
And the first time that I ever saw you was back in 2004 at the High Roller at Samstown.
Okay.
This was a long time ago. And there was like a buzz going around the building of, hey, there's some guy in the middle of the house. He's throwing it with 2 hands. So like everybody kind of like festered over there. Nobody ever here saw a guy throw it with 2 hands before. And I'll never forget the first time I saw you throw a ball with, you had on these, I'm sorry to say this hideous gray and green checkered pants. And you just like stood out from everybody. And you threw it with 2 hands, and you threw the head pin across the deck, and it landed like 7 lanes down. I'm like, my God, like what the hell is this? But I remember the outfit vividly. You stood out, you did. But so was like the amateur scene non-existent in Australia, or you just wanted to come to the States and just like really like make a name for yourself, or just wanted to compete against different talent? Like, so what brought you to the roller?
Yeah, so Australia had, we had like a little amateur scene. We had 6 events which were called Australia's Super Six, and they were spread out throughout the year. And they would be, I guess you could call them our, major championships, our biggest events. And myself and my close friends, that we would go and travel across Australia to compete in these Super Six events. And it was just honestly, I even look back at it now, and I'm still really, really close with a lot of the guys that I traveled with there. And in group text, we constantly look at some event that's popped up in some city that we used to go to and say, let's just go and bowl it together and have a bit of fun. So we used to have these events, and I learned a lot playing those, Australian events. I learned about travel, and I learned about, just bowling in different centers. It was really, really great experience. But like everything, when you have a lot of success somewhere, well, with me anyway, when I do really well, I'm always looking, right, what's the challenge next? Like, what's the next thing that I want to challenge myself? So I kind of went in baby steps. I started in Orange, and then I started bowling in like Sydney, which is the closest big metropolitan city. And then from Sydney, I started bowling in other big cities around Australia. And then I went to Malaysia, and then I went to other parts of Asia. Then I went to Europe, and there was obviously one country that, was king of all in bowling, and that was the US. And at the time, I had I don't want to say aspiration to be on the PBA, but I knew I just wasn't good enough. So I just said, you know what, I'll wait till the time is right. And what's over there that I can compete in? And Bill Chrisman used to sponsor the high roller. He still may. I haven't bowled the high roller in a long time. I'm sure he still does. So he called me and he said, hey, listen, there's these events in Las Vegas where if you bowl really well, you can actually make a bit of money, and I want to sponsor you over there. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we worked out a deal, and he would bring me over twice a year, once in February, once in July, and I would spend a couple of weeks in Vegas bowling the high roller stuff. And it's still to this day the most unique 2-week bowling experience of my life. I'm sure I've cost myself more money than I'd care to even start thinking about by staying out late and, rolling some dice on the craps table instead of rolling balls down the lane. I had a lot of stories, and I'm really, really glad I was able to keep those memories. But it was a really cool time. It really was. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't remember you that week.
That's fine.
But most people don't.
Most people don't.
The pants that you referenced.
Do you have the slacks?
I remember those. Yes, I remember those. And look, at the time, I will say they weren't that hideous at the time. But looking back, it was a style choice. One of Carl Troop would be happy to wear now, but perhaps not something I would don on the lanes.
Yeah, not now, right? It's 15 years ago, that was a good thing to wear, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But the high roll was honestly, I miss those type of events for amateurs. I know they still exist, but they're obviously a little bit smaller now. Yeah. But you imagine, like, if you're a bowler and you want to just bowl and bowl and bowl and have a great time and experience Las Vegas, like, there are squads from 9 in the morning till 10 at night. You've got sweepers, main events, you've got pot games, you've got brackets and all these other things, which that was the very first time I'd ever experienced brackets, by the way. And then I got yelled at by Timmy Mack one time because I thought with brackets, and remembering Bill Chrisman is sponsoring me, okay? So I was really paranoid about losing Bill's money, like really paranoid. I'm like, oh man, I got to bowl well. And then, you bowl a couple of squads and then things don't go too well. So you kind of like hesitate. And I went to bowl a squad and I had a pretty okay look. And I'm like, oh, Timmy told me I should always get in brackets, but I've just lost so much money already for Bill. Like, I'm not confident I'm going to make some money today. So I'll just, I'll use this as a bit of practice or whatever. And I came out of the gate and went like 289, 269. And then I think it was like 240 something. And Timmy came over, gave me a big hug, squeezing me. He's like, we're about to make thousands of dollars in the brackets. Oh my God, Bill's going to be so happy. And I said, oh yeah, look, about that, Timmy. I didn't get in any of the brackets. And I've never seen someone be so mad that someone else didn't make money. He was so mad at me. He's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, well, I didn't want to lose any more of Bill's money. He's like, Bill has millions of dollars. It's okay to lose a couple of thousand of his millions. You're an idiot. He goes, if I ever hear that you didn't max out in brackets every single time you put shoes on, I will shake you to death. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then the story gets even better because the very next squad, I had a great look, right? I just shot like a billion over for 3 games and I would have cleaned up the brackets and pots and everything. So I go and say, oh, I'll just bowl again, right? Because that's what you do. You just bowl the next squad. So I go up and I go to the bracket table and I so confidently went, max me out. Thanks,
it's the all. You hit the all button. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So I hit the, all in. I went down to my lane, strutting a little bit, thinking I've got the nuts. Everything's going to be great. And in the practice session, which you only get I think it was 5 minutes or something like that. And I didn't strike once on this pair of lanes. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should back off, right? Because I haven't struck once in this entire practice session. No. Timmy will shake me to death if I don't, max out every single time I bowl. So then my very first game after that set was 132, and I lost all the money in the brackets. so the swing of could have cleaned the brackets up to maxing out and losing every single first round bracket was that was a nightmare day, but a story I can now tell with a smile on my face.
That's what we like hearing that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Timmy still remembers it. Don't worry. Anytime I don't pull the trigger on something, I really should have pulled the trigger. He's like, it's the high roller days all over again. That's how he brings it up.
That's outstanding. Justin, this is stuff that we like to hear. We want to hear this dirt.
We like to hear this. This is good story time.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, I got too many of them.
Well, how about another one? You got another good Vegas story? Another good Vegas Timmy Mack story for us? Or a crap table story?
I haven't. Well, I've got a few Timmy Mack stories, but I'll tell you one time that I got in trouble, which I don't know how to describe myself. I like to have fun, but I don't like to get into trouble, right?
Okay.
So I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't mind a bit of a gamble here or there, but I'm not spending, I wouldn't classify myself as a high roller by any stretch of the imagination when I gamble. But this particular time in Vegas, one of my Australian friends was traveling with me to the high roller. He had seen and heard all about it with me. He lives in my own town where I live. He's one of my best mates ever in the world. He's like, I want to come to the high roller with you one year. So he saved all his money, came over. He's a bit of a bowler too. He bowled a few squads, had a blast. And it was at the end of the week where you start making finals. And I said to him, hey, listen, tomorrow is the final of the mini eliminator. I know we've been going out most nights, but tonight I really want to get an early night. I've got the finals tomorrow. I've got some buys. So I think I had there were 4 buys at the time for the eliminator at the time. So I had plenty of time to sleep. He's like, yep, no worries. So you can imagine Vegas, 2 weeks, you're at the end of it. You've been going out, you've been eating, you've been having a little bit of a gamble every night. Over time, you don't get so many hours of sleep. So I go to bed the night before the finals. My roommate, my best mate's in the room with me, and we get this ring on the hotel phone, and the curtains are drawn. It's pitch black, and I hear my mate, and he goes, "Hello," and the next words that I hear out of his mouth were, I don't know what I can say. I'll tone it down a little bit.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
Oh, I don't know. So he goes, beep, beep, Belmo, get the beep up. And then I look at my phone, and my squad for my round was starting at 1 p.m. and it was 1:02. So I'm staying at Samstown, and the eliminator is at the Orleans. So that's about 20-something minutes away. And he says, you got to go. I'm like, I got to go. I'm freaking out. I'm sweating. I'm just I don't know. I had on whatever I had on. I think I threw on a jersey. I think I still had like tracksuit pants that I was sleeping in that day. And you couldn't bowl in tracksuit pants at the time. You had to wear black pants for the finals, but I didn't care. So I get into the taxi, right? I scream and I tell the guy, hey, I will pay for every red light. You got to just get me to this bowling center as fast as you possibly can. He's like, okay, no worries. So he goes as fast as he can. And all I could think about was, I'm in the finals with Bill Chrisman's money. Oh, he's going to kill me. That's right. Maybe I can get there and it'll be fine. Or maybe they'll hold the squad up or something, which is unlikely, which was never going to happen. But I'm just trying to make myself feel better. Get to the Orleans. The guy turns around and says like $32. And I go, yep, no worries. I forget my wallet in the room. So now I don't have a wallet. Can't pay for the cab, and I got to go and bowl the final of the eliminator. And I had my phone on me, so I said to the taxi driver, I said, "You hear this all the time, I know, but I don't have my wallet on me, so I'm gonna leave my phone with you as like collateral. I will send someone down here to pay for your cab ride, and then you can maybe give them my phone back." And I believe it or not, he just went, "Yeah, okay, I'll wait." I'm like, cool. So I run through the casino, run upstairs. I see someone I know, barely know at the time, and I'm like, hey, this long story. Can you go and pay for a taxi out the front and get my phone? I'll tell you all about it later. Run upstairs. The finals is on. So I'm like, oh, great. Someone yells out, yeah, you're on lane like 73. I'm like, okay. So I grab my gear. I walk down there, and my game was 0-0-0-0-0-0 because I've turned up late, and it's now the eliminator field, right? So you've only got to beat half the field. So I'm looking at the scores around, and we're bowling on a pretty difficult oil pattern, and I'm like, maybe, just maybe, if I strike out, I can still make this cut. So I throw the first shot, and I 4-9. And then I miss it, take one, and then I strike out for 149 or no, 119. It was 119. And at the end of that round, the cut number was 178. So I kept thinking to myself, if I had have just got there one frame earlier, struck on my first shot, I could have still made the final. So then the hard part was, now I got to call Bill Chrisman. I got to tell him what happened. And there's no way anyone is going to believe that I was in bed early the night before. And I'm in a 1 p.m. start. How do you sleep from an early night and you sleep all the way through to 1 p.m.? There's just no way anyone's going to believe me. But I told Bill the story, and he basically said, that was one of the stupidest things that I could do, and maybe don't do that again. And I said, okay. So that was where that went. Anyway, that's just another story from Vegas, which was, pretty cool.
That is a good one. And Stewie checking in here. Maybe we'll talk about this one a little later on in the interview, how you fell asleep at an airport. But that's neither here nor there.
That was a good ending to that story, the falling asleep. I actually did really well after that. So that's another story. We'll write it down, and if we've got time at the end, I'll tell you that story.
Justin, we'll make a mental note for that one. So once we go to the next one there. Go to the next one there, partner.
So basically, you bowl all this amateur stuff. You come to America, bowl everything you can. Now it's time to go on the PBA tour. What are your expectations? Basically, you're coming in, the new guy, the two-hander from Australia, and not hardly anyone's seen it. So what was it like, and was there really anyone you were excited to compete against?
Yeah, so my tour journey was a little bit different. So I had met Tom Clark when he worked for the USBC, and he had now started working for the PBA at the time. And there was like every now and then there would be like some conversations I would have with him, and he would say, do you ever pursue a career in the PBA? And I'm like, oh my goodness, of course. Like, which bowler in the world doesn't want to pursue a successful career on the PBA tour? I said, but the way the tour was at the time, there was an exempt tour. So in order for me to compete, I had to play these rabbit squads. And the trip from Australia to the US obviously was really expensive. And I didn't know if I was going to bowl 1 or 2 events. I didn't really know how my schedule was going to be. I certainly wasn't prepared to live over there and do all that. So there was going to be a lot of back and forth flying. So Tom had said to me when he was now working for the PBA, he said, listen, what if I gave you a couple of commissioner exemptions, back-to-back weeks? You can kind of dip your toes in it and see how it goes. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he had warned me too. He said, look, this is very unusual. We don't really ever give 2 commissioners exemptions to an individual, let alone back-to-back weeks. But, I'll make it happen. And if you're ready to do that, I said, yeah, sure. So I did it, failed miserably in my 2 commissioner exemptions. And that was a really hard thing to handle because I had annoyed or pissed off a lot of the traditionalists and competitors on tour by getting 2 commissioner exemptions to start with. And then, of course, I bowled differently. I'm from another country. It wasn't necessarily and I didn't bowl very well, right? So it's like there were a lot of things that they could take aim at, and they did. They took their shots. It wasn't a really fun time in my career. So I went back home and feeling pretty deflated, and talking with my wife, Kimberly, I said, what am I going to do? Like, they're so good. They are so good. Like, I'm just not ready for these oil patterns. And she said, well, why don't you just learn? Like, it was like almost like telling a kid, right, who's like, but Dad, I'm cold. I'm so cold. And you're like, well, put on a coat. Like, the answer seems so logical to someone else, but when it's you just can't see the forest through the trees. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I should just get better. That's a really good piece of advice. So I worked really, really hard on just being able to, straighten my angles up and be way more sensitive with my speed control. And then I went and chased the rabbits. I went and bowled the PTQs. I'd set up a schedule where I could play like maybe 3 in a row. And that's how my tour started, my tour journey started. And I was really lucky that in the 8th event that I competed in, I qualified in the rabbit squads in the final position in 8th by I think like 1 or 2 pins, and then went through and went on to win that title, been my first title, and then I was an exempt player after that. So that made the trip a lot easier, knowing that I was already in the main event. I was guaranteed money. It was a lot nicer. But to answer the second part of that question, who was I like most excited about bowling with? Well, you got to remember, like, my introduction to the PBA happened much later in my life because we didn't have the PBA on television here in Australia. So a lot of the older Hall of Famers, like people of my generation, they had a lot of their favorite players that were probably beyond the Norm Duke and Pete Weber era, like the Marshall Holman is a perfect example, or Amuleto Monticelli. And they were just a little bit older for me that I didn't get to see them until later in my career, and they were much older at the time. So I was a huge fan of Norm, Pete, Chris Barnes. I loved watching Tommy Jones play. So I was really excited about, bowling against those guys. But there was one guy that would come to Australia every now and then, and that was your dad. And Parker had actually bowled in one of the bowling centers that my family had owned. And the reviews that my family gave about Parker were, I can't explain. And I know he's your dad, and I'm sure you probably don't hear too often any bad things about your dad, and this isn't going to be the time that you're going to hear it either. But they just spoke so highly about Parker Bohn and some of the trick shots that he was doing and how he worked with people. So I was really excited to meet your dad too. And then then I was on tour, and now it was me to join these guys every single week, which was that was the goal, that was the dream, and I got there.
That's good stuff there, man. That is really that's good.
Yeah, so I want to tell a quick story. Back to when you bowled Dad for the World Championship, there was an interview, and it was just before the PBA League had started, and you were like one of the 8 players who was their named player. I can't think of the word.
Right. We got to pick. Was that the years that we were picking ourselves? The players were picking the teams? Yeah, right.
And you did this interview, and this is where we'll get to the Australian accent in a minute. But me and Brandon would practice our Australian accents. We had that interview like down to every word. It went something like, Parker is probably the pick that I'm most excited about. His form was undeniably the best I've ever seen him bowl. And I just can't wait to bowl with him in the PBA League.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would say because it's true to this day.
So Justin, I'm going to step back for a second. We need to ask our game show question. We should do that. So Belmo, we're starting. We have a little competition, a little show starting in about 2 weeks, and we're giving a couple of viewers a chance to compete in here in some bowling trivia stuff. So our question tonight, I'm going to ask it, and later on, I'd like you to give the answer. It pertains to you. Are you game for it?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So once again, to everybody that's watching, so the answer needs to be typed into the chat log. And here is tonight's question. So Belmo, you are the 21st player to shoot 300 on TV, I believe, right? 21st?
Well, yes and no. I was actually the 20th. And due to the taping of the shows and the schedules of when the shows were going to be launched, my show aired after Chris Barnes. That's right. So,
okay.
But I guess, yes, for historical references, the 21st player.
All right, so we'll say 20 or 21st, right?
Okay.
So the question is, who were his opponents when he shot 300?
My opponents.
But you're not going to say it now. We're not going to say it now.
Yeah.
Okay. There were 2 of them.
Yep, there were 2 of them. Whereas the format was a little bit different in that show. We're not going to say it now, Belmo. We'll ask you later on. But for the fans out there, type into the chat log, who were Belmo's opponents in the match when he shot 300 on TV?
Okay.
So think about that one, and Jace will get to the answer a little bit later. So 2011 comes along. And here come the majors. And that's when you took your first major at the Players. So 13 now. What is it that makes you excel in the majors? And is it the longer formats? Is it the patterns being tougher? What is it that just makes you almost unbeatable when the majors come around?
Well, I don't really know, mate. The formats are obviously longer, and the oil patterns are typically harder. So over a longer period of time, when it comes down to, executing shots, making your spares, I do pride myself on being, one of the top guys to be able to make shots and clean up whatever I leave. And the fact that there's plenty of games, my natural persona is one of, never giving up. So as long as there is, as long as my shoes are on, I'm giving it 100% every single time I throw a ball down the lane. And I think over the years, I've gotten really clever in making changes and ball changes and manipulating my release that, if I do that enough times on enough difficult pairs, I was able to save a lot of these games that, most people may have shot 140, 150, 160 on these patterns. And I was finding a way to get to 210, 200, 210. And I think, in the scheme of things, that was probably one of the biggest attributes on me to be able to, to continue the success in that event, was because I was able to limit my low-end games. And then when the pair was nice, I capitalized on those pairs. And I seem to do that regularly. And I don't know if I don't really have a switch where it's like, oh, now it's time to catch up. It's just, I try to be patient, and then when it's there, I'm well aware, like, oh, I threw that a couple to the right, and it actually hooked back and strike. So this is a pair that you can really whack if you throw it good. So then you refocus on making sure this is going to be a well-executed game. And then those are the games that you try to catch a few pins from the leaders if you're not there already. I love the majors. I love them. They're our most important events, our most prestigious. The history goes along with them. The prize money goes along with it. And I just feel like those are the events I get most pumped up to play.
Do you feel like when the formats are longer that it kind of favors you because you have the ability to open up the lane so much? Like when they get to be really sloppy and they just hook a ton and you can just, clear the heads, don't have to worry about the first, 30 feet of the lane. Does that favor you? Do you think it's like a more of an advantage, like another trick in your bag?
I'm going to say, okay, I'm trying to think of every match. Of course, there are going to be, individual circumstances and events where, yes, that becomes an advantage of mine. But when you're talking about major championships, for the most part, the lanes, they're sloppy everywhere. Like, it doesn't matter if you can loft the ball or if you can get left and curve it. Like, it comes down to finding just something and being able to repeat it enough and then make all of your spares. And if you look across the major championships, and for any given major, and I mean this, other than maybe the Masters, which can sometimes have like some unique names kind of pop on because of the format is a little bit different. But any major championship, you look at the people who make it, and they're typically, every single one of them is a great spare shooter. They make shots. It's not about curving the ball. It's not about lofting the ball. Like, Norm has made plenty. Pete has made or won plenty. Walter Ray, Chris Barnes, Patrick, Parker. But I can just keep going down the list of names of those that seem to, make television shows in majors more than most. And it's just very rare that you see that odd name pop up. So that tells you it doesn't necessarily matter how you throw the ball in the majors. I think it comes down to the ability of that individual. And every time that I've been fortunate enough to, hold a trophy in a major championship, I've never looked back and went, oh, that was a really easy week. Like, I didn't really have to think too much. I could just kind of stand on the big dot and throw it wherever. And then, I can just start lofting it halfway down the lane. That's fine. Like, I never think like that at the end of the major. I'm exhausted. I'm mentally fried. And that's, again, I think part of the reasons why I love the majors so much is that they're not easy. So, I don't know. I have my advantages, absolutely. But I think not in all the majors. I think a lot of them, it comes down to just simplifying your game, to be honest.
Make your bad game 190 and your good game 250. When you have it, you take it, right?
Yeah. Or if you're even luckier, you make your bad games 210 and your high games 270. Like, that's the idea, is if you can double in the 10th to get well over 200 and keep the plus and minuses, keep them going in the positive, then, on those difficult oil patterns, you just got to stay patient. There's going to be, the way I look at it, my opponents are going to bowl bad games on this oil pattern. So if there are 100 in front of me, I can potentially bowl 210, 210, get 20 over, and then jump 15 spots in the leaderboard, because plenty of times you see 150, make a turn, 170. And it's like, all right, now they've lost 60 more pins, and you just gained 20, so that's an 80-pin swing, and now you're right behind the leaders by bowling 210, 210. And I think, a lot of bowlers forget, because we're so used to having the ability to play on softer oil patterns where, 210, 210 typically drops you back quite a lot of spots. In those situations, it's actually not so bad. And we press sometimes. We look for the 250 reaction on every single pair, and sometimes you just don't have to do that.
Great answer. Great answer.
I like that. So for those of you who have been watching and following us, you know that I just came out with a video very recently of PBA impersonations.
Oh, boy.
And Jace actually watched the video and gave us a comment and said we needed to work on our Australian accents. So I'm going to ask for some tips, but before I do, I want to show everybody the two videos that we're talking about. So here it is, PBA impersonations from me and Brandon.
That's right, baby. Come on, give it up. That's right. Come on, give it up.
Jace, please take it easy on him now.
No, and look, your accent from earlier in the show was it was better. So I don't know if you were practicing between that video and now, but I made a comment. I made a comment on that video saying we might need to work on your Australian accent. Look, the best tip that I could give anyone that wants to try to kind of spit out an Aussie accent is you just got to mispronounce a lot of your words, right? So I've come to learn when I travel to the US in particular, my speech pattern slows down a lot, and I'm way more aware about, the pronunciation, especially on the end of a word, far more. So I sometimes come home with a little bit of an American accent for a week because I start making sure the ending of the words in particular, like if a word ends in ER, you guys, for example, water, right?
Oh boy.
Run,
This is gonna be
runner.
Bowler.
We pronounce those bowler. We pronounce those words with like an A on the end. So it's runner and it's water and it's bowler.
That's kind of like a New York. It's kind of like a New York accent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I guess so. That's one of the things. So whenever you want to try to put on an Australian accent, you kind of got to think Austin Powers, right? Which is British. That's a British accent, but think Austin Powers and then make it worse. And then you have an Aussie accent right there.
So we'll talk to Stewie about the Austin Powers accent and how that can correlate to an Australian accent. This is going to be good, Justin. This is good.
Yeah. Stewie's got a really good English accent. I mean, he's from England, so he should have a pretty good Austin Powers impersonation. But
Justin, this is fantastic.
You talk to him. I'd love to hear Stewie try to spit out an Australian accent. I think
if Stewie's still listening, maybe we'll bring him in tonight and he can do a little Australian for us. But I have another one, Justin. If I can have I'm going to go with the flow here. So Jace, I'm going to be totally honest here, and this is not a knock. I'm not going to lie. I'm very old school. Like I'm more of like a traditionalist. Super fan of the game, historian. I know a lot of useless crap about the PBA. Justin calls me a guru of bowling, right?
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I am not, and I never was a very big fan of the two-handed approach. I never was. I'm going to be totally honest. I thought it was it took away from the history of the game and whatnot. You single-handedly, and this is not trying to blow smoke up your rear end or whatnot, have made me change my view on it after all your success, what you've done for the sport. You know, the people that are getting into it now, because we need that. We need somebody to make bowling great. Right? And that's you. You're the face of the revolution. So did you ever think what you've done with two hands is how am I trying to word this the right way? Did you ever think you could do with two hands what Roth did with bowling with one hand? How he revolutionized the sport in the 70s?
No. I mean, I never went into this thinking this is going to be the trajectory of bowling. You know, hearing what you had said at the beginning of this when you prefaced with "I've never been a two-handed fan. I'm more about the traditions." That's always one of the arguments that kind of gets presented to me, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not saying you think like this now, Mike, but if you talk about traditions, then you can say every generation that goes back can have the exact same argument to the generation going forward. If bowling with two fingers and a thumb and one hand and a one-arm swing is what you deem traditional, then the generation behind that would say, well, why are you using two fingers and a thumb? We don't bowl with two fingers and a thumb. We bowl with one finger and one thumb. And then the generation behind that, before there are any holes in the ball, we used to just palm a smaller ball. That's what we use. So why are you now going to a bigger ball, which is easier to knock over the pins, and putting two holes? So the argument of tradition and history, it baffles me because no one can claim the rights to this is the traditional way other than the inventor of the game. And if that's the case, we got to go back a few years, say to the Egyptians, where, talking a few thousand years. Let's go talk to someone from back then. I'm sure they'd be spewing, watching anyone with one arm, two fingers, and a reactive bowling ball going, what are you doing? That's not bowling. I'm the game in the sand dunes of Egypt where I use these rocks, and you're supposed to have a small rock with no holes. And we're supposed to set up these little wooden pins that are really difficult to knock over. And you guys are sending messengers. And no, that's not bowling. Like, so that's my argument, right? Like
I hope I didn't strike a nerve.
I don't understand that angle. Now, you can say it's just not the game that I was taught. Yeah, that's a fair statement. And doesn't make you right or wrong. It just makes that a true statement from your perspective. So that's I'm glad to hear that you're changed.
You have changed me, and I was not a knock at you or by any means, but you have.
But let me ask you this question, Mike.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Did you change your opinion because you now think it doesn't matter how you bowl, or are you saying no? I think it's good for the game because we're getting more people to come to the game, or we're getting kids to last longer, we're getting adults to have more fun, but I still don't think it's the right way to bowl.
I think it's more along the lines of it's good for the sport as a whole because now it's bringing more traffic to the game, and we need something that's going to make bowling more on a greater scale. We don't get looked at as athletes, right? We kind of get shunned upon, and we have a bad rep. A lot of bowlers have a bad rep. They have the image of a bowler of drinking 4 beers and stuffing a hot dog down their throat. Well, that's not a bowler, and for what you're doing and changing it and change the way it is now, there's a 9 or 10-year-old kid down here, average almost 200 throws with 2 hands. It's incredible that I guess maybe when I grew up, I struggled throwing with 1 hand, but now all these 2-handers that are developing because of you and your style, you've revolutionized. You've opened up the eyes of everybody. So I think that's
sure. And let's stick a pin in that right now because as far as I'm concerned, the benefits of what I'm able to do as a quote unquote ambassador of the game, or to encourage more kids to bowl or whatever, that still doesn't change the fact that your perception of the style isn't quote unquote the right way to play. And I know I really don't want to get too deep into this because it may take up the rest of your show. But I would ask you to have a look at what you deem to be the right way to bowl, right? And your own image and what you think is the right way to bowl. And then I would ask you to look through the years of history and say, and I mean this, I want you to write down some of the things that you would classify as the right way to bowl. And you can make it as simple as, look, I think it's just one arm swing. That can be as simple as you do it. But as you go back through the history, you'll notice that the way that you think the game should be played has changed. It has changed to what you think it should be played from something else. And then that's where I would ask you, why do you think your style is the correct way and the ones that have come before you and the ones that have come after you are wrong? And I think you'll come to find there'll be a moment, like an epiphany moment, where you'll be like, yeah, I know why I think this. It's because it's how I play. It's how I was taught. So it's a very personalized opinion, very personal feeling based on maybe it was your grandfather who taught you to play, or your father. You have a very close connection and you don't want them to be wrong. So you deem it to be right. But I would ask you, or anyone else listening, or anyone who's listening to the playback, if you have a very strong stance against the style, just draw what you think is right. And I promise you, it's wrong to somewhere further back in history. And then that's why I always say, you don't throw it the right way, Mike. I don't throw it the right way. I just know that we all throw a ball away to get down to the other end of the lane and knock over the pins. And that's it. That's what bowling should be. It shouldn't
we all throw
be.
It. We all throw it 60 feet.
Exactly. And Roth would have felt the exact same way when he started curving the ball, which if you look by today's standards, his level of rev rate was high, but the amount of boards he was covering was still quite low. But even then, that's not how you're supposed to bowl.
No.
Mark, you're not supposed to throw the ball like that. You're supposed to throw it with, the suitcase release and answering the telephone. Here you got this guy just kind of jumping out of his shoes, throwing a ball. So, like I keep saying, yes, I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to say that you're wrong. I just don't think I'm wrong either.
No, right? and I didn't want to strike a nerve, and I didn't want to open up a can of worms here. You know what I mean? And that's not what I was trying to do by any means possible. but you have
Mike,
changed my opinion.
No, Mike, I am not saying that at all. I am not saying that you are a bad person or that you're discrediting the way that I throw the ball. What I was trying to do is, and I do this all the time, is sometimes when you get into a position to talk about something, I'm not really trying to convince you, Mike, and I'm not really trying to convince Justin. I'm trying to convince somebody that's tuned in, that's watching, that is very, very much on the side. I don't like the way that this player bowls because it's not traditional. And that's who I'm actually talking to right now. So I hope if that someone is listening, that after this podcast, they say, you know what, I'm going to have a little think about that and maybe change their perception. And instead of grouping players by, one-handed, two-handed, lefty, righty, it should just be bowlers.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? If you win a tournament, you should, like Parker Bohn should never be, in my opinion, he should never be categorized as one of the best lefties. Like, it bothers me when that happens because he's one of the best bowlers, period. It doesn't matter that he's left-handed. He's just a bowler. And I don't like being compared to, I think Jason's the best two-handed player in the world. Well, I mean, I appreciate that, but I don't care. I don't care. If I'm the best two-handed player, but I'm the 100th best player in the world, why should I be proud of that? Like, that's not something that I want to attain to be the best player of a certain style, but be out of the top 100 in the world. Like, no, thank you. Lump us all in together, and now you can start really debating who is the best bowler, who is the best player, who is the smartest bowler. And I think, to me, that is a more united front of bowling rather than breaking us all into these little, minority groups.
It's a wonderful explanation, and honestly, and you did a wonderful job of that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to say this before we bring Stu on. Stu actually joined us, and he's going to give us his interpretation of what we had discussed before this. But
okay.
I've started bowling two-handed about 2.5 years ago, and it has changed my game and brought my versatility to a whole nother level. So I don't think, and it's really taught me to learn, not that I was against it before, but it is definitely not how we throw it. It's knocking them down.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Basically, what you said. Once you get to the foul line, it doesn't matter how you got.
I mean, you think about, hey, Justin, you think about the guest you're about to bring on, Stu, right? Like, you think about his stylistic play. That is unique to Stu. And I don't know if you would say, right, I'm going to teach my students to throw it exactly like Stu. And that's good. That's good because we shouldn't have textbook styles that everyone is made out of the same cookie cutter. Everyone should have their own uniqueness, and Stu has his own uniqueness, and I think that's what makes him one of the best players in the world, is that he does something different than everyone else, and he got really good at it,
And Parker always taught me that it doesn't matter how you get to the line, it's the last two steps, and that's exactly what you're saying, Belmo. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, like I said, and I'll use it again. Walter Ray is another example. He's the greatest player that's ever laced up a pair of shoes. And have you seen anyone ever bowl like Walter Ray since? Like, no one bowls like that. Why? Because every coach looks at it and says, that's just Walter. I can't teach that. And that's the beauty of bowling, right? That's the beauty, is Walter is Walter. No one can look like Walter. No one can bowl like Walter. You may bowl two-handed, but you won't look like me. You'll look like you bowling two-handed, And that's why I love the game of bowling. There isn't a right way. There isn't a wrong way. Throw the ball, knock over the most pins, someone give you a trophy, walk out of the building, do it again somewhere else. End of story.
I love it. And now, Justin, without any further ado, let's bring in that Mr. Uniqueness who's been waiting here. There he is. Stu.
Stu, thanks for joining us.
Hey, bud.
Hey, I like the fact that Stu is in a comfortable seated position at home for your show. When he came on my show, he was in his car in the middle of summer wearing a shirt that he'd been bowling in all day, and he had his phone set up. The audio was terrible. He had the fan cranking in the background. So I like that he's very well prepared for your show. Thanks, Stewie. I appreciate it.
Mate, make sure you don't twist an ankle getting down off your soapbox there, bro.
I'll swivel off my soapbox. Thank you very much.
Listen, let's have right at it. Let's put the accent aside, Stewie. What happened with Belmo at the airport?
I don't 100% remember. I just remember him sitting at the gate, as the story goes. He fell asleep. He woke up, and there was nobody there. Like we're gone.
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's about how it went down. And I got in real big trouble at the time because I was representing Australia. And no. Well, let me wind it back. I was in Vegas, and Australia was going to a Asian Zone Championships in Hong Kong, and the team was arriving, I think, 3 days prior to the event starting to, bond as a team and to be a part of it. But the high roller and the mini eliminator was finishing, and I could fly and land the day of the tournament in Hong Kong. So I'm like, well, I got to make money. And my main sponsor, Bill Chrisman, he sponsors me for this tournament. I can't not play the finals. I have to do it. So I got into big trouble with my federation, but I smoothed it over. I told them I'll be there very early in the morning. So I'll have plenty of time to get ready and shower, and everything will be great. So I did exactly what Stuart said. Like I went to the airport, getting ready. I was very early to the airport. I did not want to miss this flight. And it was after 2 weeks of Vegas. So I'm just kind of like slowly nodding off in the chair, and I would keep myself awake a little bit. I would nod again. And then the next time I did it, I remember I felt like I just blinked, and I woke up and the crowded LA airport was empty. The big windows where I could see the plane was gone. And it was just me with my backpack, and at the time a Discman, right? I had a Discman on, and that was it. And I was in paranoid, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be miserable. Long story short, a gentleman on another flight had fallen ill, and there was one seat available. But the problem I had was when I landed, they would have to bring my uniform to the airport, and then we would have to go straight to the airport to the bowling center, where I would then have to bowl straight off the plane. And it was like a 45-minute drive from the airport to the bowling center in Hong Kong. And for that entire time, my manager of the Australian team was just yelling at me, screaming about, this will be the last time you ever represent Australia, the disrespect. And I kept trying to explain, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep, but hey, I'm here. We're going to the bowl. So I'm putting on my uniform in the taxi cab, get to the pair of lanes. My teammates had brought my bowling balls out for me. I didn't even know what pattern. We're bowling on short and long, and I didn't even know what we're bowling on. And they said, oh, it's the long pattern today. I'm like, okay. And I think I shot like 1560 for 6 games and won the gold medal. And it was a very I'm a bit of a smart ass. So when something like that happens, and my manager had been yelling at me for literally 45 minutes straight about how I'll never represent Australia again, I kind of, I held my gold medal up to him and said, I'm pretty sure this guy means I'll play for Australia again. Or something like that. And we haven't been friends since.
So Stu, we're talking about accents before.
Right.
And Justin made this video, I don't know if you saw it, about the impersonations of some of the tour guys.
I did.
So, Justin, why don't you take this one away? This is all you, bud.
So I basically asked him for some tips on my Australian accent because he commented on the video and said that we needed to work on it. And basically he said, well, Stu's got a pretty good one because you were chiming in the comments, and we were like, oh, well, we can get him on. So basically give us your best Australian accent.
Stewie, before you go ahead, I want you to know I didn't tell them that you have a good Australian accent. I said that Stu has an English accent, so he could do a good Austin Powers, and then to do an Australian accent, you could do an Austin Powers, only make it worse. And then that is an Australian accent. So I want to clear that up very quickly.
Okay.
But don't you just talk about that was a little ripper there, Warnie? And then
in the entire world, other than if there's an Englishman, an Australian man, South African, New Zealander, or some maybe Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankans would have any idea what you just said and what it actually means.
I know, and that's why I use it, because it's brilliant.
It's a ripper, Woody.
Ball and shine.
Ball and shine. We're having a good old laugh over here, and
This is becoming good tonight.
Our American friends are like, these guys are idiots.
Like everybody gives me and Belmo a hard time when we start talking about the cricket, because Americans have the audacity to say cricket's boring when they have a sport that's called baseball.
Amen to that, Stu.
Well, I'll tell you what, cricket's actually kind of interesting, and there's a couple guys that played cricket that made it to the major leagues. There are. Graham Lloyd was Australian. He was one guy that comes to mind.
Just
Graham Lloyd.
My wife looks really happy that I made the decision to go on this.
Hi, Tina.
Hi, Jason.
How are you? It's not my show this time. Don't get mad at me. All right, it's the Bohn N Zano Zone show. You can get mad at them.
Belmo's ratting us out, Justin.
Hey, earlier he did the Bone show. So
listen, I've come to learn, Mike and Justin. Right, when the wife of your friend is cranky, you get out of the way. Like, you get out of the way and you throw that husband under the bus where possible, and you throw other people under the bus. Not to suggest Tina's upset. I don't know if she is or not, but if she were, I'm just merely defending myself that it's not my fault this time.
Yeah,
and do you guys know what that blanket is represents? Do you have any idea what it's upside down and back to front. But do you know what LFC? Is that
one of the soccer teams? Am I off on that one?
Yes, sir.
No,
Liverpool.
you're
That's
right.
one thing that me and Belmo agree on. God, I'm having a hard time with this.
Stewie, where can I get?
There's like three things in the world Stu and I truly agree on. It's that Storm and Roto Grip is the best bowling balls in the world. That Liverpool Football Club is the greatest football in the world, and that Australia is better at cricket. I think we agree on that.
There we go. Hey, listen, I'll give you that the Don was the best cricket player of all time. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Well, the numbers say that he should be, but he died, so he can't. Even if you disagreed, he couldn't defend himself. So I would say the third thing that we agree on mostly, Stu, is that Americans are confused by our countries more than other people are from around the world. How about that?
I was so sure that you were going to say that the third thing we agree on is that you're the best bowler in the world.
That's funny.
This is going great tonight. Stu, where can I get a Busby?
A what?
A Busby. You know what a Busby is?
No.
That's the hat that the British guards wear outside like Buckingham Palace.
Oh, the beefeater things. Yeah.
Where can I get one of those? Like, I really want one of those.
They sell them on a little store right outside Buckingham Palace for all the American idiots who want to buy one.
So now I'm an American idiot.
For an outrageous fee.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just like when I went and I walked around Red Square in the Kremlin. I bought one of the the Russian hats. Because I was an idiot tourist then too.
So I'm an idiot American. I love this, Stu. Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, I mean you fit the bill pretty good.
This is good. And I tuned in to watch him last night. I ripped Barnes a little bit, and I was expecting it, but now I'm getting it good tonight. So thanks, Stu. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. So tell me about this Ryder Cup of New York versus New Jersey house bowlers. What's going on?
I don't know. I don't know how it started or how it originated, but it's like a battle of the states basically, and there's a Ryder Cup style like golf.
It looks like it's going to be fun.
It does look like it's going to be fun. I think it's like 12 on 12. I think it is. I think
15 on 15.
Is it 15?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull it up on Facebook.
Yeah, and they got Baker trios and all sorts.
Yeah.
People are going to be throwing $100 bills around like the fucking M&Ms. Sorry.
No, you're okay, Stu. You can let it fly.
I had the decency to beep mine out. You could have at least put a beep in there, Stu.
Stu, maybe we can go and we can live stream it and we can do commentary during the event,
Yeah. I can
I
be
like
like, oof.
Yeah, that's
Well,
all you
yeah.
want.
Well-
Stu cursing through your live streams at everyone's
That's
full
okay.
ball reaction.
How did that guy miss the head pin? Dude, it's walled. No, the best person to get on it would be PA. Every time Steve didn't strike, they'd be like, "You stinks." Stinks.
There is another thing that Stu and I agree on. He loves it when I get deliriously tired and start teasing players on the lanes while we're bowling. That's when he thinks he likes me the best. Yeah, that's the best version of me, Stu thinks. When I get really, really tired, if I've just flown from somewhere like home to bowl on tour and I'm crossing with Stu and I'm tired, I usually say like the most honest but rough things about myself, about everyone, about Stu. I just say them and Stu's like, oh, can we just leave this Belmo here for a while longer? Like he's going to be gone tomorrow when you get a good night's sleep. Can we get him back?
It's the best. It's like, we'll play the PBA League in that round robin thing. He'll walk past and go, well, it wouldn't be the first time you've opened a 10 frame, would it? AJ Johnson's one who often runs into the crosshairs.
Yeah, but only because he's such an easy target. So you start off with the low-hanging fruit, like AJ. You know you're going to get a bite on that hook. So once that bite happens, you get invigorated to go, where's the next big fish that I can aim at? And then there's, Norm Duke and those guys. Those are the elite fish. Those are the ones that, you've really got to be tired before you start throwing some shade at somebody like Norm or Chris Barnes or anyone, because they're pretty accomplished. So whatever you're about to say, it better be real good because they have a few one-liners of their own that can be thrown straight back at you. So, but I love it. I love that part of the tired Belmo version. Hey, I don't know how long we're doing this for, but how long are we doing this for?
Well,
we had a script of like a few questions we were outlining. We normally do 10 frames of questions at the end. But
okay.
If you have somewhere to be, we can.
I'll tell you what. Hey Stu, how are you looking for time? Are you good to do? Can we do the 10 frames together?
Yeah, Justin, I can edit them up. Stu, are you up for a little anything goes?
All right, let's do it. Are we going to answer the questions like each, or are you going to take question one and I take question? I don't know what the questions are.
I think that we should answer the questions as if we were the other person.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Jesus Christ.
Mike, we do have to ask the first one because we did talk earlier about how Bill called you cheap.
Yeah, so Stu, this one's just for Belmo.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. We need to address this.
So, one of my staple questions.
I mean, I'd have a really good answer for this.
Okay, so Stu, you can answer it. You can answer it in a sec, but let's.
Okay, no, let him go.
Justin, play the clip of Billy's interview.
All right.
So, Justin, we're going to start off with number one of my staple questions here. So, you're out to dinner with a bunch of guys on tour. Who's the guy most likely to sneak out and not pay as part of the bill?
Belmo is the person who would do that. And I'll tell you why. Because he's, A, really forgetful.
Okay.
And B, he's always on the phone. He's always talking to somebody. Whether it be his family or he's got somebody that's producing his a movie for him or something, where he's always on the phone. So you never finish a meal, rarely, without him being on the phone. So he's like, oh, I got to take this, and then he leaves, and then I'm sitting there, and all right, we'll just pay the bill. And then I walk out and I give him one of these, and he gets in the car, and then later on he's like, oh, did you get it? I'm like, yeah, I got it. But he'll always get me back. But he is definitely the guy who would walk out without paying.
Well, that's a new one there, Justin. We'll add Belmo to the list then.
Okay, so that's not being cheap. Parker, what's going on?
How are you, mate?
Hey, I'm doing all
joining
right.
us tonight.
I'm just about to defend myself about a Bill O'Neill comment there, but you set that up for clickbait, Mike. You straight up set me up. I got all heated because you said it was because I was cheap, and that's not true. he did say that it's because I'm often busy and I, take a phone call and then we decide to leave and then he pays for it. But he even said at the end, I always get him back. And that's actually the relationship we have. So we don't pay 50-50 for meals. It's I'll get this one, you get the next one. Or, if he gets like a lunch, I'll get 2 breakfasts or whatever it might be. So, yes, I will walk out without paying, but it's because I know the next 2 dinners I'll be paying for anyway. So it all evens itself out. So I actually agree with the Bill O'Neill comment. I certainly would walk out without paying.
You should have cut that, Mike. You screwed up there.
Yeah.
You could have started the argument in paradise here.
I was about to go to Twitter and start. I was about to go to Twitter and start firing in at Bill O'Neill.
All right. So then, who is the guy then, Belmo? You're out, a couple guys. Yeah. Who is the guy who's beating the bill then? And Stu, you can answer the same thing. Who is the guy?
Oh, man,
we just don't hang out with those people.
No, I could say the same thing. I could say Bill doesn't pay for half the meals, but that's not true. That's just, it's not because he's stiffing you. It's because it's my turn to pay the bill, and that's not what we're talking about. I mean, I don't know anyone that I travel with that will not pay for their fair share of the bill. No, Fagan probably is the worst, because what he does is he gets the bill and splits it absolutely evenly down the middle 3 ways and expects everyone to pay the 19 cents that we all have to put in to make the bill the right. He's the opposite. He's always making sure he pays right, but also make sure that, if you're $1.07 short in cash, he'll say, I'll get it, but you owe me $1.07, which I'll get later. And then you'll be at the apartment later, and he'll say, I'm just reminding you, I'm not expecting you to pay me right now, but you still owe me $1.07. I'm like, yeah, Mike, I know, I'm good, dude. I'm good for the $1.07. I'll catch you tomorrow for the $1. And then we'll go to breakfast, and before I can even open my mouth on what to order, he will say, hey, just make sure you get $1.07 back, because you owe me $1.07. And then we usually punch him in the head and tell him he's ridiculous, and we laugh about it. And then I give him his $1.07 just to shut him up. But he never stiffs. Yeah, never. I don't know anyone that stiffs. Never. I don't know anyone.
Dad, you know anyone?
No, through the years, I don't know how many guys would actually do that.
So. Yeah, stiffing somebody on a meal, I mean, unless you go out and, I don't know, you preface the conversation with, hey, everybody, I've got dinner tonight, and it's a joke, and they don't get it, and then they just leave, and you're like, yo, where's his money? But, well, you kind of said you'd pay for it at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, well, I did. I don't think anyone has ever done that to me anyway.
I think we've all had our share of, let me say, friends or tour roommates along the way that when the bill would come in, they'd say, here's $10 for mine. And then you go, well, hey, by the way, you had a drink. Oh, I forgot about that. And then what about tax? Hey, how about tip? And the next thing you know, the guy's got to put $18 or $20 down instead of 10. So, that gets a little crazy.
I have had, and Stewie's been to some of these dinners, I have had relatively good wins around the world. And we would go to dinner, and especially in the amateur days when we traveled around, from the Middle East to Europe to Asia, if you won the tournament, it was quite customary for the winner to invite a select group of people to dinner. And it was well known that, okay, he's won the title for $25,000. He will get dinner for this select group of people. But Timmy was notoriously famous for inviting 12 other people who you didn't know. And then the bill would come around for a table of 18, and Timmy would stand up and go, yo, this guy right here, he's paying tonight. He won the tournament. And then you look at the bill, and it's like, Timmy, this is a $1,200 dinner tab. Okay. And you don't want to seem cheap to the people that you don't know at the other end of the table. So you put your credit card on the table, and you're like, better let Kimberly know there's going to be a $1,800 Australian dollar bill for dinner tonight. And then I got to explain to her, how did you spend $1,800 in dinner? And then I got to tell her the story, and it's just a nightmare. So that has happened.
Just
All
say
right.
it's a really good meal.
We got around that though. We did the $400 cap.
Oh well, that's better than I ever got traveling with Timmy all those years.
Well, it was because Oscar kept winning and Timmy kept inviting people. So eventually we were just like, Oscar just put 400 in and like threw the thing around and said, "You guys figure out. I'm leaving."
That's fair enough. In Timmy's defense, he has picked up a lot of big value ticket dinners in his time. So I guess in his worldview, it was I've done my fair share of paying the $1,200 bills. Now it's this guy's turn. So I get it, but that doesn't happen out on tour. Did it ever happen back in the day, Parker, when you won like a title that weekend and you would take like 5 or 6 mates out, or was it no?
I got the good one.
Really happen.
When you and Jason went first and second in the event, and Mom had to pay.
Yeah, that was different. We the good one that we have is when Couch and me were rooming together out on tour. We would go out and bowl, and typically we'd put our wallet and our keys in our bowling bag. Well, we bowled for the title that week, fortunately, and as it turned out really good for me. Unfortunately, he finished second, but my uncles took our bowling bags because the next week we were in Las Vegas. We were going to go there that night. Well, we went to go out to dinner right afterwards. They already took off down the highway, and we had $72,000 plus incentives between us in checks. And Leslie, we were only boyfriend-girlfriend. Leslie had to buy dinner that night because we didn't have anything left in our pockets.
That's a nice conversation to have. Hey, honey, I just made a boatload of money. Can you get the dinner tab tonight?
Yeah, they wouldn't take our check.
Yeah, and now look at you. You survived the worst of it back then, and here you are years later, still buying dinners for each other, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That's for sure.
All right, get to these 10 questions. Like, I'm going to get into trouble.
All right, guys, I'm going to let you
I
get
got
up there.
so
Take
much
care.
stuff to do today. I got so much to do. Fire away.
All right, so that was number one. So number 2.
I'll speed the next 9 up a little bit.
Let's do it.
Shall I?
Belmo, anything goes here. So number 2, I got one for you. How do you get that beard to look so freaking good?
Am I answering as Stu or as myself here?
You can. Oh, you're doing it the opposite. So answer it as Stu.
Okay. So, right, what you do is you wake up and then you just don't touch your face for about 6 months. And then you get this great beard that's just shaped perfectly due to the perfectness of my hair follicles on my face. And I don't have to do anything, and I'm lucky like that. And I think it's one of the reasons why Tina loves me, because my hair follicles are just perfect.
I'm not going to do the accent because neither did Belmo really. So,
I was more of a Londoner.
The way I do it, mate, is that I actually get up extra early and I shave, and by the time I get back to the squad room, it's actually grown in to be strong enough that it's just perfect every day. So I actually shave down every day, but it grows back in the walk.
I literally did, I shaved a couple of days ago. I trimmed right down, and now it looks like I've been in isolation for 6 weeks and I haven't touched my face.
All right, let's go to another one. Shall we go to another one?
Go for it.
We all have our good fry outs and our flip outs here. So what's the best fry out story we've seen on tour?
Oh, well, I can't answer for Stu because I don't know what he's saying. So I'll let him answer this one. The best fry out that I saw, it wasn't really even a fry out, like in the same space as like what you would imagine a fry out to be. Mm-hmm. But I saw Oscar one time lose in the final frame to win a sweeper. He needed, just high count, and he got a 5. And then I think he took 1 of the 5, so he lost the sweeper. And in the, I can't remember if it was the Gold Coast or the Orleans, but the paddocks there are pretty large. And he had 3 triples on his shoulders, 3 double totes on his shoulders. And he threw the first one, and he threw it, and he's such a strong lad. He's so strong that before the first bag hit the ground, he had already thrown the other 2 just as far. So there was essentially 6 balls all in midair together, thrown by one guy at separate times. And I walked out very quickly after that because I was going to ask him, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm like, no, he's probably going to rip me in half if I say anything at this point. I will just walk right back the way I came.
Wow.
So the greatest tryout ever in the PBA, whether you saw it or not, is Nick Melnikov when he ran up and he kicked the ball return, and then the ball return came off, the shell, and then he walked up and he put it back on, and then he took 4 steps back, and then he ran up and booted it off again. That's the greatest tryout in history. And by all accounts, Mika said they passed around the hat to pay his fine in the locker room because they thought it was so funny. But the one that made me laugh the most was we bowled a PBA team tournament in Vegas a few years ago, and it came down, and we were playing for the top seed, and it was my team against Belmo's team. And the funny part of it was Bill's reaction to when Belmo and West decided to take the 3rd re-rack. So they got 0 for the shot. And at the time, Bill was on 9 titles, and all of the rest of their team was Hall of Fame eligible. So Bill was just offered a tirade. It was like literally one of the funniest things I've ever heard. He was talking about because they just moved the Lucy to a different bowling center, and he'd won that tournament like 3 years in a row. So he's just like, so here I am. I need these 4 guys just to come through for him. You need this 10th title. No, take 3 re-racks. I mean, why wouldn't you, Belmo? Tell Wes, get the re-rack.
No, it was Wes bowling, not me. And Wes asked me, how many re-racks have we taken? And I said, I've taken 1. And that's all I said. And then he went on to say, well, okay. And then he went and pressed the button.
Ask me you were both saying to him, you can't re-rack.
That you were in the back, but I will say you were saying it like this. Hey, Wes, you're not allowed to take the 3rd re-rack. You weren't by any stretch of the imagination standing up, waving your arms, going, hey, in the essence of good sportsmanship, Wes Malott, do not re-rack. It was more like, Wes, you're not allowed to take a re-rack. Oh, Wes just took the 3rd re-rack. Kirk, where are you? They took 3 re-racks. They get 0.
So anyway, Bill went off on this tirade about how, like, Belmo can't strike for me to win the doubles. Now I bowl with Shannon O'Keefe, guaranteed to win that tournament. They moved to a different center. Now I bowl with these 4 guys. How can I not win? We've got 1,000 titles between us. They take 3 re-racks. So and when Bill gets angry and stuff like that, it's literally one of the funniest things in the world when he gets off on a tirade. So that to me was very funny.
Let's keep it in the Bill O'Neill category for the next question. All right, guys? All right, Belmo, you can bowl doubles with one of the 3. O'Neill, Pete, or Deandra. Why? And go. And you can answer it as each other.
Yeah, I would probably bowl with Bill. I mean, I think our history has been, we've made every single double show bar 1, and that one we finished 6th. So we've won a team title together. I think he's one of the best players, in the world right now. I mean, if you're talking about Pete Weber from the 1986 years to the early 2000s, I would love to bowl with Pete back then. I bowled the Lucy with D a couple of times and had a great time as well. But I mean, if I'm trying to beat everyone in the world, I think I would bowl with Bill or Pete from the 80s through to the 2000s.
I think it's still bowl with Bill because he'd never hit the end of not bowling with Bill if he did pick anybody else.
Yeah, that's true as well.
All right, let's go to another one.
Bill does so much for him with booking stuff that it's the very least he can do is bowl a doubles tournament with him.
All right, so
I'm not going to deny that.
So you get done with a block, Belmo, right?
Okay.
You're a little hungry. You're looking to find some place to eat. Is
Five
Outback?
Guys.
Is Outback not Outback?
No, Outback is the worst place in the world. It's if that place went out of business tomorrow, other than the people who work for that place, because then obviously they'd be unemployed. But no, it's a disgrace to Australian culture.
It's also not very good.
No,
I
it's
wouldn't
not
know.
very good.
Never eaten there.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe I lied. Maybe one time in Japan when everyone was going to Outback, and I was like, oh, I don't want to really go there, but all right, I'll just go there. And I didn't have a great experience. And when I'm reading the menu and everything on there is like, oh, why don't we just go and get an Outback steak and we'll get some Aussie fries and we'll get these shrimps on the barbie. We don't even call it shrimp. You know, like things like that is, it just bothered me. And I choose to never eat there.
So it is not authentic. So it's false advertisement.
What fast food restaurant is authentic?
It's not really fast food, though.
Is Sbarro authentic Italian pie? Like, no, I don't think, you know, their logo is of the Italian colors. And you're like, dude, it's as far as from authentic as you can possibly get. Those types of chain restaurants, they're designed for one thing only, and that's to give people heart attacks. That's it. That's all they're designed to do.
Oh, dear.
Stu, what's your go-to place?
I do like Five Guys, though.
Five Guys is good.
I'll have a heart attack in Five Guys anytime.
Five Guys is expensive.
Yeah, but it's nice. I like it. Stewie, listen, Stewie, I don't know if you heard their intro. 24 titles, 13 majors. I can afford the extra $1.50 for the burger that I want to eat. Okay?
Stewie, he said, bleep you right there. You know what's funny?
It's funny because he would be able to afford those burgers if I would strike more in the league teams that we've played on over the years.
Belmo, what's funny is we had Frankie Lavoie on maybe like 2 weeks ago, and he was saying how he would always give you crap because he had the green jacket from the Open, never had one, and now you have a green jacket. But he said, Stu, there was a chamois at the Open this year, and
the real story behind that is Frankie had that, and it said 2-time US Open champion on it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But it was a roto grip chamois. So Frankie kept leaving it on pairs, like any pair that didn't have Duke, Walter Ray, or Pete on it. And he'd just leave it in practice, and he'd walk up and he goes, is this your towel? Oh, no, of course it's not. It's mine. And he kept picking it up. So he did it to Tommy, and he did it to Bill, and he left it by Belmo's pair, and, like, he left it by, like, Nick Pate's pair. And he goes, oh, is this yours? No, it wouldn't be yours if it said 2-time made the cut either, would it? And he just walked off. So then we were laughing, and I was giving him shit because it was a roto grip chamois. So he goes, oh, no problem. I'll tailor it for you. So then he took it and made the 2 a 0. And he goes, there you go. So I had a 0-time US Open chamois.
All right, so let's go to another one about the US Open. So Belmo, you finally won the Open.
Uh-huh.
And I think Stu also talked about this with Frankie as well. Do you ever wear the jacket, Belmo?
I don't have it.
No,
you don't have it
to get one too.
No, I mean I'm going to ask them to buy it or a replica of it or whatever it is. Like I don't know what they do, but they sent the trophy but not the jacket. And if I'm really honest, Mike, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a few things around the world that has happened that I feel like calling them about a jacket that I would want seems like pretty low on the list of priorities to deal with right now. You know, so I may wait until, you know, the 2021 US Open when I go back to back, and I'll see if I can get it then.
So you get the jacket, right? So let's say you get the jacket. You get 2 of them, right?
Uh-huh.
So the question is, are you going to walk into a Five Guys with that green jacket on one day?
If it's the day that I won, I would wear it on the day that I won as a proud symbolization of, yes, I'm wearing a green jacket today because I won it. But I can't imagine I would wear it anywhere else other than if there was a specific event that required me to wear it, then I would. But no, it'll be something that I put in a really nice frame. And I still have the bowling ball that I use, so I'll put it all together in a nice little package. And that event was a really special event. Obviously, it's the US Open, but
of course.
It ticked a lot of things off for me. So I think I will try to put it in some kind of shrine, and then I don't know, Kimberly will probably make me put it in the garage so no one sees it anyway.
So Stewie, yes.
Part of me says that if he ever did win the US Open, or if he wins the US Open next year, say, I don't think that his victory meal would be going
five.
to 5 guys.
No, it wouldn't be going to
I
5
hope
guys.
not.
And Timmy Mack would invite another 14 people to dinner with you.
He
Right.
might
Yeah.
buy it 5 guys.
Now, Stewie, same question to you. You win the U.S. Open. Are you wearing that jacket around town?
No, I'd wear it at roll call at PBA events. I'd be like, you guys are cold in here.
Like, Kirk, excuse me. Do you have a hanger for my green jacket?
Yeah, did you not have anywhere where we can store the jacket?
All right, let's try another one.
I actually told that to Frankie when he won. I'm like, how are you not? And then he was going to, when he got, it took him forever to get his first jacket, like actually get it delivered to him.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got it, he was going to get another one because he obviously won the second time. He was going to get, and he was going to take a picture with him and his girlfriend sat on the couch saying Netflix and chill with them both wearing the green jacket.
That's funny.
So let's try another one here, and I'm going to try this one again, Justin.
Okay.
Obviously, guys, and answer it as your opposites here, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, when you guys bowl bad or somebody bowls bad, right? It's never us. There's always a reason why we bowl bad, right? Lane man was bad. Too hot in the building. Approaches are bad. Blah 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 blah. Who is the biggest whiner on tour when it comes to something like that? Like, who's the guy that will always find a reason to complain when they bowl bad?
See, I'd say Simonson, but he finds that reason when he bowls good too. Like Simonson's pretty good. Okay.
I think Francois Lavoie. I think he's a big whiner when he plays bad. I think there's 1,000 excuses and reasons why things aren't going well, but he usually will end the slap, the slap to someone with I guess I could just get better myself. Like he'll say it as a joke at the very end of his rant, which is really him saying, I don't actually believe this last little bit. I'm just merely saying it because society says that I'm supposed to take ownership in this moment, but I'm not going to. It's still everyone else's fault. I'm just letting everyone know that I know it's everyone else's fault, but you're going to hear me say, but it's my fault at the end. And I don't believe it.
Yeah, he said himself. I asked him the same question. He actually said himself. I got 2 more.
I mean, one other person who is a little cruel to kick him while he's down, but Ronnie finds a lot of other people to blame.
Okay. That's a new one. Justin, we haven't heard that name here.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't heard that one. All right.
Most guys who complain about the lane machine are the problem. Oh, if we were born on the kegel machine, it'd be fine. Like, anybody who says that is generally a problem.
And just really doesn't have a lot of brains.
Well, it might be true, but why would you try and convince yourself of it being true?
All right. So I got 2 more for you guys. You ready?
All right, fire them away.
All right. So this is another one we normally ask. Least favorite center to bowl out on tour?
Favorite center to bowl is not even close.
That's Wayne Webb's, right, Stu?
Yeah, anybody who throws a storm ball, the favorite center to bowl, that's Wayne Webb's. We have an incredible advantage. Belmo leads every year. Simonson makes the show every year. I make the top 24 every year. You've got no excuse if you're throwing storm balls not to make the top 24 at Wayne Webb.
Okay.
So then what's the opposite? Oklahoma?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Oklahoma.
I've had mixed results. I've won there. I've missed cuts there. I've won there. Then I've missed cuts there. So I like it depending on what year it is. I don't really know if that's a good answer. But, yeah, I mean, Wayne Webb's, I don't know if I haven't been the first or second seed in that place for, the last 5 years. It feels like I've had a very good matchup in that place for the last 5 years.
Justin, give him the center and see what he thinks of it. The one that everybody has always answered on our show.
As the bad center?
As the bad center.
Woodland.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to burn it to the ground, but I love the
I love it. That place is like the daddy. I love that place.
Mm-hmm. I like the people.
I think the pins are hard to knock over. I think the approaches are okay. They need a little work on the corners. Sure, they're a little sticky on the corners. And I like that it's a little darker. It makes it a little bit more atmosphere when you're on the lanes and you're bowling. But I don't know. I like that play. I think it's big. It's nice. It's clean. I do well there. So that's the last thing I usually have to preface with that I like a place.
I've got one
I do well there.
to it. The biggest disappointment for me was when we moved from South Point Bowling Center to South Point Bowling Plaza. The bowling plaza is cool. My ball doesn't think it's as cool. My ball likes the bowling center more than it likes the plaza.
All right, so this is my last one, and this is just going to be a Jason question. Sorry, Stu. All right?
No problem.
So 50 years from now, Belmo, people are going to read about you in the history books.
Yeah.
Do you want to be remembered more as somebody who was the guy who won everything on the lanes, or the guy
PBA League,
minus the PBA League, or somebody who has transcended and changed the sport forever?
Hey,
I know
Mike,
we had some fun, so we're ended on a
yeah.
serious
No,
note.
Mike. I mean, look, if I'm brutally honest, and you can exchange my name for anyone else's name, but if you win absolutely everything, I think you also transcend the game while you're doing that. So if I am able to win absolutely everything, which is not realistically possible, but let's just say it happened, I think I would also then go in the history as the one that transcended the game of bowling. So, yeah, but I think you could replace my name with anyone's name. If they did that, they would also transcend the game, into wherever they've transcended it to.
A very good answer. And one more, Jace. We asked the question earlier for our little contest we're having.
Yeah, Mike Fagan, Brian Kretzer.
There's your two answers, everybody. So when he shot 300, his opponents in that match were once again
Brian Kretzer, Michael Fagan. And if you get a chance to watch that, I forget at the time, but Kretzer and Fagan had a really, really good battle coming down the 9th and 10th as well. So it's a really entertaining show. You have, you've got a 300, but you've also got, I think Kretzer 8 10s. He 8 10s in the final shot to give Fagan a chance to tie. So it's a pretty exciting finish.
Justin, I am done. Unless you have anything else for us, for our guest, Mr. Bohn.
I think I'm good. We had a great time.
Yes.
Stu joining us for sure was a great time. Yeah. Thanks, Belmo, for joining us tonight.
God, and plug your shows, guys. I know you both do shows. Jason, where can we find you when you do your show?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube when I go. I'm trying to do it every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, your time. So it's the once a week, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can look for it on, I think it's Belmo, youtube.com/Belmo0300 is my YouTube channel. So, give me a view when I've got funny guests on like Stu. He was a good guest. We had a bit of a blackout issue while we were streaming the last time, but we were able to save it and bring it back online. But it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. I hope that I'm able to continue the Belmo show for, every day. I've got a really cool partner in the background who does a lot of the streaming from a secondary location. So no matter where I am in the world, all I need to do is connect somewhere online, and he produces the show for me in the background. So, and that was one of the things I really wanted to do was, if I'm busy traveling on tour, I don't have the ability to set up a podcast and organize cameras. And so now I can just be on my phone, stream straight to his computer, and he looks after it for me. So it should be relatively easy when I'm traveling to be able to still do the show.
Good stuff. Mr. Stu, plug for you guys.
Yeah, Beef and Barnsey. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on everything. Check out the YouTube page. That's the only way I'm going to make any money, so check out the YouTube page. Give it a subscribe. If you can, just go to the first video on our site, leave it playing overnight. That'd be helpful too. Yeah, exactly. We've got.
You need to get that Simpsons. Did you ever see the episode of The Simpsons where Homer works from home and he's got the duck, and the duck is on a water thing, yes. it's tipped by water, and it just keeps pressing yes. So you just need you find out how long your show is. If it's an hour, you need to time it. So every hour the duck just kind of goes replay. replay, and then overnight you get 8 views. So that's it's not the.
They add up, don't they? In the end,
It'll add up. All the little things in the world, they add up in little bits. So, all right, you guys are killing me. I'm gonna get shot. I gotta go.
Thank you very much.
50 minutes. Justin Bohn, you've kept me on here for an hour and 50 minutes. Thank you, Mike. Stewie, good to see you. I can see someone in the background, Mike. Who we got?
That's my daughter, Daniela. She wanted to meet somebody from Australia. She's giving you a wave.
Daniela.
He says hi. Jace, thank you very much. Stay safe. Hope to see you in the States soon.
Peace.
Stewie, it's always a pleasure.
Johnny Petraglia tomorrow, 3 p.m.
Oh, really? Really?
3 p.m. Eastern, Johnny Petraglia. So
wow, that's a good spot.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to ask him if he feels like he's gone like Michael Jordan and tarnished his legacy by being a PBA league manager.
Stu, where do we get these Beef and Barnsley shirts? I like those.
Yeah, you can. Well, this is
that's different.
This is my shirt, 100% beef stew.
I like it.
I like that.
You can get that on coolwick.com. If you go on my Facebook page, Stu900, there's a link right at the top pinned. You click on it, buy the shirts. I think they're $25. There's a bunch of different colors. Yeah. And then beefandbarnsley.com. Bye-bye. beefandbarnsley.com for the Beef and Barnsley shirts.
I love it. I love it. And maybe one day, Justin, we'll be honored, and maybe they'll ask us to come on their show and do a little bit with them.
Maybe
if they're really desperate for guests,
Yeah, but I think we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yes, we are.
For joining us tonight. If you're watching on the Facebook page, please like and follow the page. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna make this short. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the Bohn N Zano Zone.
Take care, everybody.